Hello, we are starting lesson 5.2 today. Just a little review from yesterday. We are going to look at our place value chart again, and we are going to round to the underlying place value. Okay, so for our first one, we have 12 decimal 345 thousandths. We are going to be underlining, or excuse me, it's already underlined. We're going to be rounding to the underlined place value. If we look, the 4 is underlined, so we are rounding to the nearest hundredth. We are going to be looking at the 5. So remember, when we're rounding, we are only changing the number that is underlined. So we can simply type 12 decimal 3. Okay, so what we're changing is the hundredths place. So we're looking at a 5. Are we going to bump it up or drop it off? 5. I'm going to bump it up. So if we bump up a 4, it's going to become a 5. Let's look at number 2. We have 593 decimal 197 hundredths. We are rounding to the thousandths. We are rounding to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to look at our 9 and our 7. Okay. So I have a 7. Am I going to bump it up or keep it the same? Going to bump it up. Everything else is going to stay the same. I'm only changing the hundredths place. So if I bump, in this case, I'm also changing the tenths place because my 9. Okay, so I'm bumping it up. So my 9 becomes a 10. So I'm actually going to make this my tenths a 2. Does everyone see why that happened? So I have a 9. If I bump up my 9, it becomes a 10, which then changes the place value of my tenths. So I make my 1 a 2. Tricky. They tried to trick us. Let's try number 3. We have 82 decimal 0, or excuse me, decimal, yes, 0 300ths. So we have the 2 underlines. So we'll be rounding to the nearest 1's place value. And we're going to be looking at the next number 2, or next place value to the right, which is a 0. Okay. So if I have a 0, that means we are dropping it off. So it's going to be, if we drop it off, we're just going to have 82. That's it. Let's look at number 4. We have the tenths place is underlined, so we are rounding to the nearest tenth, and we're looking at a 6. My 9 will stay the same. Decimal, okay, I have a 6. Am I going to bump it up or drop it off? Bump it up. My 6 makes my 1 bump up to a 2. Okay. Now, number 5 and 6, we are actually underlining these ones, so we need to know our place value. So Ms. Blythe is going to pull up our chart. So it says round each decimal to the decimal to the indicated place value. Okay, we have tenths, so let's look at our chart. Tenths is my first number to the right of my decimal. So I will be changing my tenths place value, and I will be looking at my hundredths to see if I need to drop it off or bump it up. Bump it up, bump it up. Okay, so my 816 stays the same, my decimal stays the same. So now I'm looking at my 2 and my 9. Does 9 bump it up or drop it off? We're going to bump it up. So my 2 becomes a 3. My answer is 816 decimal 3 tenths. Let's look at our last one for our review today. We are in the tens column, excuse me, tens. So we are, Ms. Blythe is going to pull up our chart again. Tens is my second number to the left of my decimal. So I will be looking at the 9. Okay, my 5 will stay the same. So now I'm looking at my 9. Is my 9 going to bump up my 7 or drop it off? We're going to bump it up. So our number is rounded to 580. We drop off the rest. Okay, I hope that was a good review for you. We are going to get started with our lesson today. Okay, so Mrs. Blythe is going to read the example, and then we're going to get started. It says, Hadasha used a digital thermometer to find the morning temperature and afternoon temperature. She found the morning temperature was 31 decimal 3 tenths degrees Fahrenheit And the afternoon temperature was 37.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Estimate the difference in average temperatures. Okay, so the first way we can do it is we're going to estimate to the nearest tenth. Okay, so is 37.6 closer to 30 or 40? 40. Okay, is 31.3 closer to 30 or 40? 30. And then we are going to subtract. 40 minus 30 gives me what? 10. So that's the first way we can do it. The first way we can do is we can round to the nearest 10's place value. And another way we can do is we can round to the nearest 1's place value. So let's compare them. Okay, first we have to do it and then we'll compare them. So we have 37.6. Is that closer to 37? Or 38? Let's look. Okay, I'm looking at my 6. Does my 6 bump it up or keep it the same? Or drop it off, excuse me. It's going to bump it up. So 37.6 is closer to 38. Okay, let's look at 31.3. 3 tenths. Okay. So I'm looking at my ones column, and does my 3 drop it off or bump it up? Drop it off. This is closer to 31. We're going to subtract 38 minus 31. Whoops. Minus 31 gives me 7. Okay, so when we compare them, we see that there's a little bit of a difference between these, right? We have 10 as our answer and we have 7 as our answer, but we want to figure out the closest answer. Okay, so the difference is about how many degrees? It's about 3 degrees, so the difference is about 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have 10 for this one, and we have 7, because difference always means subtraction. So the actual difference is 6.3 degrees Fahrenheit. So rounding to the nearest ones column gives us our best answer because 6.3 is closer to 7 compared to 10. And if we're rounding by ones, that gives us a better answer and it's closer compared to if we were rounding by tens. All right. So today, I'll give you a second. I was planning to get rid of all these. Not erasing. Oh goodness, I have to delete all of them. Okay. Just give me 1 second. So remember, today we are rounding and then we are adding or subtracting. So today should be a pretty easy lesson. A lot easier than division. So that's a great thing. Give me a few more seconds and I'll be done erasing all of these. Okay, so let's look at our second example. We have estimate 5.26 plus 1.93 by rounding to the nearest 1. Okay, so we're rounding to the nearest 1. That is important to remember. Let's look at this one more time. Our ones is our first number to the left of our decimal. Okay, we can do this. This is This is easy. We got this. We got this. Okay, so we have our ones. So we are going to be looking at our ones and then looking at our tenths place value to see if we are bumping it up or dropping it off. Okay, we have 5.26 hundredths. We have a 2. We're going to drop it off. So our answer is going to be 5. You can also think of it this way. Is 5.26 hundredths closer to 5 or 6? Let's look at the next one. We have 1.93 hundredths. We are looking at our 9. Our 9 is going to bump it up. So this is our 1 is going to become a 2 if we bump it up. Now we're going to add them together. We have 5 plus 2. What is 5 plus 2? 7. So our answer is 7. The sum is about 7. Great work. Okay, Mrs. Blythe is going to do a few with you, and then I'll ask you to do some independent on your own. So remember, we are going to be rounding to the nearest ones column, and we're going to be adding or subtracting today. So let's look at number 1. For guided practice, it says 2.8 plus 1.3. So we're going to round to the nearest 1. Mrs. Blythe is going to underline our place value and draw our arrow to see what we are rounding. We're bumping it up or dropping it off. Okay, we have 2.8. Our 8, let's look at our 8. We're going to bump it up. My 2 becomes a 3. In our next one, we have 1.3. My 3, I'm going to drop it off because it's lower, so it becomes a 1. I'm then going to add my sums together. 3 plus 1 gives me 4. So 2.8 plus 8/10 plus 1.3 is about 4. Now let's try some subtraction. For number 2, we have 5.98 hundredths minus 1.3 hundredths. We're going to round to the nearest 1 again. Think in your mind you can also do is 5.96 closer to 5 or 6? 6. Is 1.3 hundredths closer to 1? Or is it closer to 2? I think 1. What do you think? 1. I agree. So then we are going to subtract 6 minus 1. It gives me 5. So my answer is about 5. I hope you were able to see better with me typing today for this lesson. It just takes a lot of clicking, so sorry it takes so long. But I think it's more legible and easier for you to read, so I will click away. If you have any questions, please come to your live session at 12:15. I will be there to help you and reteach this lesson. Yeah, so for your classwork today, I would like you to do numbers 3 through 14. All right, have a great day, and I hope to see you soon.